Nobody noticed the man who never spoke. Not when he walked into the crowded New York subway in 1947. Not when he sat in the same corner cafe every morning. And certainly not when the United States government quietly erased his existence from every official record. But for 23 years, he had been listening. And what he heard changed the course of history. Chapter 1. The Listener. In the winter of 1947, New York City was louder than ever. The war had ended, but its echoes still lived in every street corner. Veterans filled the sidewalks, jazz spilled from underground clubs, and the city pulsed with ambition, fear, and secrets. Among millions of voices, one man chose silence. His name, at least the one he used, was Daniel Harlow. He rented a small apartment in Brooklyn. No family, no friends, no known past. Every morning, he wore the same gray coat, carried the same worn leather notebook, and boarded the subway at exactly 7:12 a.m. He never spoke. Not to the barista who served him coffee. Not to the landlord who collected his rent. Not even to the police officer who once questioned him about loitering. But Daniel Harlow was not mute. He simply understood something others didn't. Information is power, and silence is the safest way to collect it. Chapter 2. The War That Never Ended. While the world celebrated peace, a quieter war had already begun. The early shadows of the Cold War stretched across continents. The United States and the Soviet Union weren't firing bullets, but they were hunting something far more valuable. Secrets. Government agencies expanded overnight. Intelligence networks grew like roots beneath the surface. Every conversation, every letter, every whisper could mean the difference between global dominance and destruction. And somehow, Daniel Harlow was always there. At a diner where two scientists casually discussed uranium research. On a train where a soldier drunkenly revealed classified troop movements. Outside a government building where a clerk argued about missing files. He never interrupted, never reacted. He just listened and wrote. Chapter 3. The Notebook. The notebook looked ordinary. Brown leather, slightly torn at the edges, filled with neat, precise handwriting. But inside, it was something extraordinary. Fragments of conversations from across America. Names of officials who shouldn't be talking. Locations of secret meetings. Hints of technology the public didn't know existed. Rumors of operations that were never officially confirmed. Daniel wasn't guessing. He was collecting. Over time, patterns began to form. Separate conversations connected like puzzle pieces. Small details turned into dangerous truths. And one truth stood above all. There was a breach inside the United States government. Someone, maybe more than one person, was leaking critical information. Not to allies, to enemies. Chapter 4. The First Sale. Daniel never planned to become a spy. At least, that's what he told himself. But information, like money, has value only when exchanged. One evening in 1951, Daniel sat in a dimly lit bar near Washington, D.C. Across from him sat a man who didn't get his name. The conversation was simple. "You have something for me?" Daniel slid the notebook across the table. The man flipped through a few pages, then stopped. His expression changed. "How did you get this?" Daniel didn't answer. He didn't need to. A thick envelope replaced the notebook. Inside it, cash. More money than Daniel had ever seen. That night, something changed. He realized that silence wasn't just protection. It was profit. Chapter 5. The Invisible Man. Over the next decade, Daniel became something no agency could fully understand. He wasn't CIA. He wasn't KGB. He wasn't military. He was independent. He sold information, but never the same piece twice. He never revealed his sources because he didn't have any traditional ones. His source was the world itself. People talked too much, and Daniel listened better than anyone. Governments began to notice patterns, leaked operations, failed missions, compromised agents. But there was no trace. No fingerprints. No witnesses. No identity. Just a rumor. A ghost. Chapter 6. The Mistake. For 23 years, Daniel made no errors, until one day, he listened to the wrong conversation. It happened in 1969, inside a quiet restaurant in Chicago. Two men sat in the corner. They spoke softly, but Daniel caught enough. Project won't stay hidden much longer. If Washington finds out, it's over. We move it before the end of the year. Daniel wrote everything down. What he didn't realize, those men weren't careless. They were bait. And Daniel had just revealed himself. Chapter 7. The Erasure. Within weeks, everything changed. Daniel returned to his apartment one evening to find the door slightly open. Inside, nothing was stolen, but something was missing: his notebook. The next morning, his bank account was empty. By night, his apartment lease was gone. Within days, there was no record that Daniel Harlow had ever existed. No birth certificate, no employment history, no identity. It was as if he had never been born. Chapter 8. The Final Truth. Decades later, in a declassified report released quietly in the early 2000s, a strange case appeared. No names, no direct details, just a description. An unidentified individual operated independently across multiple states, gathering and distributing sensitive information without formal affiliation. Subject demonstrated extreme observational intelligence and behavioral discipline. Neutralized to prevent further compromise. No one knows what happened to Daniel Harlow. Some believe he was captured. Others think he was recruited. A few insist he escaped and continued listening under a new identity. But one thing is certain. In a world full of noise, the most dangerous person was the one who stayed silent.